Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching today's race. Welcome to the IRO's round 3 race at Monza. Monza is 3.6 miles long and consists of 11 corners. Most of the time these drivers will be flat out, so 80% of the track is pretty much flat out on the full throttle. It is the spiritual home of Ferrari, so I know we've got a few Ferraris here. Hopefully they'll do some justice for the spiritual home of Ferrari. Monza is also known as the Temple of Speed. And so, yeah, welcome. I'm looking forward to this race. We've got some incredible drivers lined up for today. This is very different from the last races that we've had. We've got a lot more straights, and I think the overtaking opportunities here are less. Turn one's the big one, obviously, and then you do have a couple of others depending on whether the car in front's made a mistake or not. So the teams we have today are Project One Rejects, Moose Mafia Racing, RA Grid Life, Tavinilio, sorry if I pronounced that terribly, Havanello, thank you very much. Racing team, S7R Airways, the NVR team White, S7R Salgaris, is it? I think I pronounced that okay. If not, I do apologise. Race Asylum Biscuits, Vez Racing Team Cayenne, S7R's Turn 1 winners, NVR Team Black, Firestarter Project Team, S7R Phoenix, and VIP in the end there. A lot of S7R cars here in split one. And so round 2 results, you can see there in first place was S7R's, you're going to make me pronounce that again, Salgaris. And then just behind them was NVR White. And then behind them in third place, not too far behind either, was Team Havanello. I've now pronounced that properly now. And then fourth was Project One Rejects. Behind them was Moose Mafia Racing. And that, if you look there, that's a really close sort of end to that race, considering it's a 3-hour race. And then we've got RA Grid Life sixth, VEZ Team Cayenne, or Z if you're in America. I think it's Z in America. And then 08 in the 8th place, sorry, is NVR Team Black. In 9th is RA Team Biscuits. 10th, S7R's Turn 1 winners. 11th is S7R's Airways. 12th was Team Firestarter. 13th, sorry, was S7R's Phoenix, and 14th was a Victory in Performance. And the standings currently is Project One Rejects with a healthy lead of 104 points. Second is S7R's Salgaris with 86 points. They moved up 6 places from the last position, so they definitely had a much better second round than they did on the first. And then in third place, you have Moose Mafia Racing. They unfortunately dropped 1 spot down with S7R's team going over them, but they're very close on points, only 2 points in it. NVR's Team White with 70 points, who's jumped up 5 places from the last round. And then we have Havanello, Racing Team with 66 points. We also now then have in 6th place S7R's Turn 1 winners, who lost 3 points. I think they just a couple of other teams just had a better round 2, and so there's been a lot of movement in the tables. In 7th is Team Black, NVR's Team Black. Joint 50 points is also RA Grid Life. In 9th, you've got VEZ Racing Teams Cayenne with 36 points. They've lost 2 places from the last round. And not moving anywhere is the Firestarter Project Team with 20 points. Also joint 20 points is Race Asylum Biscuits. They jumped up 2 places from the last time they raced. You have Victory in Performance with 14 points, dropping down 2 places from the last time. S7R's Airways and S7R's Phoenix all on 14 points, all fighting with similar points towards the back of the league table. So the weather. Welcome, Hovercraft. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the lead there for a little bit. We had a little small technical difficulties at the beginning, but
No worries,
you want me to take over today's weather?
Yeah, you take over now. I'll take the back seat.
Well, welcome everybody. Sorry for that, but today's expected weather, it's going to be cloudy over in real life. Italy, it's I think the chance of a small bit of rain, but Monza does not have any rain in game. Because of that, qualifying and Stint 1 and Stint 2 will be cloudy all the way through. Now, the series rules, qualifying, which we will partake in right now. 20 minutes, 1 times tire wear, 0 times fuel usage. You just gotta get a fast lap on the board. For the race, there's 2 stints. Each of them are 1.5 hours. 1x tire wear, 1x fuel usage, 3 liters per second for the refuel rate. Stint 1 starts off with 100% fuel, while the guys waiting at the pits for Stint 2 will start off at 5%. They're going to have to refuel before they launch off. Medium and softs are required. Only tuning allowed is brake balance. You gotta be careful, there's heavy damage, and as we showed, it is a cloudy day, and the variable time is at 2x. And I say that we will be getting off on qualifying right now. Let's see, does Project 1 Rejects, are they able to keep their championship lead by the end of today? JK, what are your beginning thoughts for this wonderful round at Monza?
I think the cars that have got very good straight line speed are obviously going to be at an advantage. But only for qualifying, because the cars that have got the big speed also uses lots of fuel, and they are probably a little bit worse on tyres than others. That's a very generic sort of overview. I think the times are going to be, I think that these guys are going to be in the high 47s, potentially maybe mid 47s. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to see the Vipers up there, along with the AMG Mercedes, if we have one. I can't remember if we've got one in this race, but certainly the Viper from MMR is going to be fast down the straights. And the Porsches, although they are very good, they're not as quick in the straight lines than some of the other cars here.
Yep, makes sense. But at the end of the day, I think the Porsches, we may see them take a peg down compared to their performance at Laguna. Would you say the same?
Absolutely, I agree. I think it's going to be difficult for the Porsches even in the race, because they're going to be fighting the cars that are faster, even in slip, and so it's going to be quite a difficult one. But who knows? I'm not out. That's why I'm not racing. I'm not there. They are. So they'll know better than me. I think in terms of I think the Nissan, what we're looking at now, so S7R's Wid's car, I think that's going to be an interesting pick, because that's just quite a solid car, and it could throw a spanner in the works. And obviously, Wid being Wid, he's an amazing driver. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, PhD's World Series, I believe it was Season 4, Race 1 yesterday. He won the overall Group 1 class as he takes over the line to begin his first hot lap, braking around the 100-meter board to get the car settled into turn 1. Quick hands to turn it over to the left-hand side. Avoid the gravel on the outside, onto the curb, power out. Taking around the fast right-hand sweeper, shortest line available to save as much time as you can. Tumbling down into the second chicane, braking at the small little gravel patch or asphalt patch on the right-hand side. Clattering over the curbs, over the sausage curves, keeps the car straight. Gets out into the first Lesmo. Nice little apex to power out once, but you gotta do it again at Lesmo 2, braking at the 50-meter board. Get it right over the apex. Make sure you have the earliest throttle done. Second place, back there, VIP JP Scale following close behind, trying to replicate the same thing in his Porsche. Going into the Ascari chicane. Avoid the sausage curves over the first apex. You can be a little bit more playful over the second set to get a good exit out. One more corner left, Parabolica. Now, approaching right near the 100-meter board. I think it's even later nowadays. Get the car nicely settled in. Go for a little bit of an early apex because you have so much space to throttle out. But he takes a shorter line, the shortest line to the finish line, and he sets the bar with a 1:48.1.
Great first lap.
Absolutely, that's going to be an amazing maker and hard to beat. But there are plenty of great drivers today. As I say that, Inuyasha gets a 47.9. And I was wondering to see where AMS Super S2K got on the board, but he might have had to abandon his lap.
Yeah, he did.
Currently,
2 minutes 6.
I see. Well, Inuyasha takes provisional pole after the first set of laps, but we still have almost 16 minutes to go. Let's see what happens next as we are watching Pazosito and the Ferrari. S7R's IRO close behind. Let's see what the Firestarter team is able to accomplish. Currently sitting in 10th, going into the chicane a little bit down from their first lap. Will they abandon or will they keep going? We got 20 minutes, guys. There's a few different strategies that they can do, like fuel burning and conserving tires to try to risk it all on one good hot lap. Going into Lesmo 2. Gets the car pointed nicely in the direction that he wants to get the power out. Going down the back straight, or I guess the mini back straight, if you will. Under the underpass. Well, I guess the overpass. And then going into the first chicane. Arrow matching almost his first lap perfectly, but does the slipstream give him any sort of advantage once he crosses the line? Going down the back straight into the Parabolica. If I remember, JK, the RX Vision is not exactly the greatest in straight line speed. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It's not the best, but obviously sitting in the slipstream is going to help. And don't forget, this car's really good on tyres, so it might not be great on qualify, but don't ride it off.
Good point. S7R Arrow cross the line as go ahead of Puzosito. Really enough, at the same time as he overtakes on the straight, P1R Antovis gets a little bit of an improvement, but not much to make any sort of changes in the grid order.
AMS Super 2K, so close to taking provisional pole. So close.
1,000. Unfortunately, we just missed him crossing the line, but there's 1,000 left to find from Super S2K side. Let's see if he can find it in the remaining time during the quali session. He's almost 2 tenths up. Oh, but he has to abandon it. He got too close to the Porsche ahead, had to abandon his lap. Good on him, though, for avoiding contact.
Yeah, staying on the one side to let all the cars go past. Incredible. He'll make it up. There's 30 minutes left of this qualifying session. Hopefully, I don't know whether he tapped the back of the car, he hasn't got any damage, and that can waste a few seconds in the pits if he has to fix the car. We should expect these times to come down because obviously the fuel burn on the cars and also the track rubbering in should sort of bring these times down a little bit more.
Absolutely, I agree with you there. Fuel makes a massive difference around any track, doubly so on a track that's known as the Temple of Speed. And Inuyasha going into the Parabolica. S7R win in the meantime is able to respond to both Super S2K and Inuyasha's. The GTR takes provisional pole so far. Does Inuyasha get a response? No, almost 2.5 tenths down from his best lap so far. Super S2K soon to restart his next hot lap. Shred in 4th Indy Audi, best of the rest in terms of those not able to get into the 47s. But I have a good feeling he will find a doorway into those lap times soon.
Witt has just blown everyone out of the water with a 47 6.
Absolutely, that's going to be arguably one of the best laps we see today. Posicito again following S7R Arrow. Arrow able to overtake him earlier in the qualifying session, but he isn't allowing him to go away. A little bit deep on the brakes for the second chicane. Gets a bad exit as a result. Unfortunate because he was 2 tenths up before that chicane. But he isn't out of the running yet. Let's see if he's able to recover. Ooh, a little bit wide out of Lesmo 1. Hide on the outside of Lesmo 2. I wonder what happened there. Porsche must have gone out shape out of Lesmo 1. Let's see here, folks. Ooh, had a snap
Yeah.
on Lesmo 1.
That's so easy to do. As soon as you touch the inside curve too much, it upsets the car, and it just sort of kicks you out wide on the exit.
JK, how much do you want to gamble around here with those outside curves? You know, the green stuff. Is there any time to be found by going over that part of the track?
There's loads of times to be found, but it comes with its own risk. It's very, it unstables the car a lot, and so there is a boundary to it. You go too far, and it is going to spit you out the wrong way. So yeah, there's a gamble to it, but there is time to be made.
Good to know. Let's see who anyone uses. As I say that, Shred with the third near 1,000 perfect lap time. 47.992 instead of a 47.993 and a .994. Incredible lap by the Audi driver, using the slipstream provided by the Ferrari ahead, able to take the shortest line as well to get himself up to provisional P2.
If qualifying is to go by, racing is going to be incredible. It's going to be
Absolutely.
so tight.
And how much will these cars get back closer to one another in race pace, right? Quali pace and race pace are different.
So there's a lot of variables in that, isn't there? It depends on the driver, it depends on how much fuel they've used, how much tyre they've used. So it's hard for me to say that. I'll have to see how the race unfolds as we go along. But yeah, I think they'll all come together. I think it'll be very similar to the last few races. Don't forget the Audi though. The Audi's fast and straight line and great on tyres.
Absolutely, that will be found to be useful later on in the first stint that we see here. S7R with Tom pulling aside. Wasn't necessary. Tom was probably on a hotline. Oh, took him in the back. Spinning out on the entry of the Ascari chicane. I hope he's all right over there. Hopefully no damage, so he can just keep on going. Let's see what happened here. Pulling off to the side for the provisional pole holder. But then he comes back onto the line. Oh, okay.
I don't think he realised the second car was behind, and so to avoid ruining their lap, he's just gone off the track. Fair play.
Yeah. A lot of these guys have really good sportsmanship. A lot of these guys have actually raced each other in prior leagues and races than what has happened today. So a lot of them have, you know, the mutual respect and sportsmanship to, you know, try to avoid ruining other people's lines. So, as we say that, Moose going into Parabolica with the Viper. The Viper here having a strong showing. 48.2 so far. Let's see what he does on his newest hot lap. Going down the main straight, passing the pit exit. One car going out the pits, but no issue to the Viper. Braking near the 100-meter board, as we've seen so many times before, to get the car nice and over the first part of the chicane. Get your power down as early as possible on exit, taking the shortest line. No one goes over to the left. Everyone wants to keep right. That's how competitive it is today. The sweeper, no problem to modern GT3 cars, going down into the second chicane, braking nice and early to get over the curbs very securely, but 2.5 tenths down than his previous fastest. Going into Lesmo 1, let's see, good apex, if a little bit early, but gets the power down with no problem. Braking at the 50-meter board once again to get over the apex to get the power down. nice set of 2 Lesmos, but AMS Super S2K close behind, trying to get that slipstream. Moose abandons his hot lap. What about Super S2K? Does he see any improvements? Going into Ascari, 2/10 down. Might be a little bit too much to ask so late into the lap, but he still does a good Ascari. Going down the final back straight into Parabolica. Probably no improvements on this hot lap, but he still has a few more attempts to go. Will he go for a faster exit to provide one good last hot lap? Let's see here. Yes, he goes out wide. No short line for him today. Or no, he doesn't. I guess he wants to try to put this time on the board. 47 flats. Or 48, my bad.
48 flat.
Now, we're coming across absolutely going on Inuyasha. Still 1,000 splitting P2 and P3 and another 1,000 splitting P3, P4. JK, how difficult is that to do in any sort of race?
I think it's impossible. Even up impossible. I mean, I don't know what the probability of that happening is, but to have 3 cars, and they're all different cars, if I recall. Is that right? Or is it 2 Porsches?
Red in the Audi and Inuyasha and Super S2K in Porsche.
Yeah, so 2 different cars, and so close in time. And I bet if you looked at both of all of their lap times, they'll all have driven the car differently. So I love that about racing. You know, you have different styles and it works for certain people. That's why it's always important. Yes, you can learn off of people and take advice from people about how they do things, but ultimately you need to find your own style, and that's where you will finally sort of unlock the get quick button.
Absolutely, there's plenty of ways to go around the track, but only one can say they do it the fastest. Inuyasha Alphaskari was a little bit faster than his current hot lap. Does he carry that to the end of the line? No, unfortunately, still in the 48s, no time to be found. To put it in perspective, folks, I believe the human body blinks at 1/10 of a second. So with 1,000 separating these 3 guys, it's faster than you even thinking about wanting to blink. That's how small the margins are here right now, and this does matter once we get onto the grid. Yes, a shred in the Audi going purple out of sector 1. Let's see if he keeps this advantage going into the Lesmos. Lesmo 1 seems nice and tidy. Little bit earlier of an apex, that's what I'm seeing with some of these guys. Lesmo 2, perfect on the apex again. These 2 corners are known for wanting to be precise, wanting to be settled.
Yeah, it's all about momentum around this part of the track. Not too much break, just enough.
Exactly. Carrying the momentum, but unfortunately, Shred is unable to keep his advantage 2.5 tenths down.
Yeah, and it was on that corner where he touched the inside curb. You could see it upset the car quite a bit. Couldn't quite get the power down properly.
Yes. That's how, like I said, that's what we're talking about. That's how tight these margins are. Absolutely. 1 pixel onto the grass, and that's your qualifying lap done.
You'll have another go at it.
Absolutely, everyone should. Oh, Super S2K with a 1.5 second penalty. Must have gotten the Ascari wrong, trying to get that lap time. But most of these drivers should be getting 2 more laps, I want to say, in terms of hot laps, unless they have to come in to get a new set of tires, but I don't think that's the case. P1R Antivis, P13, currently rounding the entire grid. Let's see if this go gives him any sort of climb up the ladder. Crossing the line with a 49.4, a little close to his best lap, but we're gonna need more to see him climb the grid order. Going into the first part of the chicane, trying to make sure he doesn't get himself distracted by the 2 cars ahead of IRO and Super S2K. He gets a nice tidy chicane. I believe he's in the Ferrari, going into the right-hand sweeper. Modern cars have no issue taking this corner, but back in the day, all the cars did have to brake for it, or at least lift and coast. Into the first chicane, 3.5 tenths up. Amazing improvement so far. If he continues this for the rest of the lap, he's seeing himself at least in 12th. Aero slipstream possibly coming into play. Going into less mil 1. The Ferrari doesn't take much of a hit in terms of dirty air. Gets a little bit loose on the exit, but keeping it on track. Misses the apex a little bit of less mil 2 going onto the green stuff. But he still continues, still hoping for a better grid position. Going down the mini hill under the overpass, going into the first or the last chicane of the track. 4 tenths up is on the board. Let's see if he continues it. Going into the second part, a little bit of understeer, but still able to carry good power through onto the exit. Is he close enough to pick up sprinklings of slipstream going into Parabolica? Far away enough for dirty air to not be an issue. Gets into the apex of Parabolica, nice and tidy. Tries to pull back over to the right-hand side for the slowest line. Meets, as I say that, in P2 now.
Oh.
Super S2K getting up to P3 as well. Antivis, our on-camera hero, improves, but still stays in P13. JK, what did I miss while I was talking over that?
No, you just got it. Moose 21 moving straight up, so MMR is right behind Wood at the moment. I did want to say that watching Antivist, he gave us the perfect example as to the limitations of running on that green stuff. It is a fine balance. You can see how upset the car got a few times, going a bit too far over, even though he still improved.
See, yep. Let's see here now with S7R's Wid entering Parabolica one last time for this qualifying session. Proved to everybody today that he was already capable of taking this race by its reins. And one last time, he improves with a 47.5, 3 tenths clear of second place. He is making a statement right here, right now. Moose going out the final part of a Scary. Let's see if he has any sort of response to the guys ahead, or can he cover off a little bit extra to the guys behind. Super S2K in the background picking up a penalty, so his qualifying session is done though. Let's see, does Moose have any sort of extra time to give, or will Shred and Inuyasha knock him down the order? Fortunately, Moose with no sort of response. Shred and Inuyasha already completed their sessions with no improvement. Tam going out of Parabolic, close enough to get a little bit of slipstream from the Ferrari ahead. Does that improve his time? Needs to find a 10th, but no 10th to be found. Believe that is most of the qualifying session done. JK, give us your thoughts from what we saw these past 20 minutes.
Well, Wid sitting pretty in pole. I thought it was interesting. I thought it would have been a little bit closer than that, but then Wid sort of turned it on again, and MMR thinking they were quite close to the pace. 3 tenths down. The race is a different story though. Yeah, what a qualifying! Some really great drives. You can see how twitchy the cars get on the green. I think all of that's going to play a part in the race. Turn 1 obviously is going to be huge.
Yes, turn 1 it's going to make or break a lot of these drivers' days today. Let's hope there is no issues in terms of collisions or late-breaking hero moves. But JK, go over with us the rules of the race, but also the rules of the handoff for Stint 2.
So, for the rules of the race, again, like you mentioned, it is a heavy damage, so you really want to be careful. You don't want to pick up damage because you'll lose time in the pit, and you'll also lose time going around the track. The tyres are 1 times. The wear on the first stint, the cars are full to the brim with fuel. The second stint isn't. They've got less fuel. They've only, I think it's 5 litres just to get around the first part of the track to sit in the pits. And how the transition works is that on the penultimate lap of stint 1, all the cars will go in, and as the driver comes to a halt in the pit stop, they will radio in to the other car that's in a different lobby who is waiting in pits to then start refueling and making sure that they've got the correct tyres, and then off they go. And so then they finish the race, they start and finish the race completely, and they can pick and choose how much fuel they want to put in and the tyres they want to use. And as we mentioned in the qualifying stint, fuel plays a massive factor around time. I'm going to go through the results now for qualifying, and I'll carry on with the rest of the rules and how the handover really does work and how difficult it is to get it right. Now, in pole position is S7R's Wid in the Nismo with a 1 minute 47.5 time. Right behind him is MMR's Moose in the Viper with a 147.8. He's just over 2 tenths behind Wid. And in third is AMS Super S2K in the 911 GTR with a 147.874. Again, really close, those two cars together, Moose and Super. And then we have Shred in fourth in the R8 with a 1 minute 49.9. And then right behind him, you couldn't even blink fast enough how close that is the 911 GT3R with a 1 minute 49.993. In sixth is S7R's Hidi in a 911 GT3 with a 1 minute 48.3. And then in seventh is Payan, sorry if I've pronounced that wrong, with a 911 GT3R in a 1 minute 48.4. And then in eighth is Tamosis. There we go. That's about right. Again, if it's wrong, I do apologise. Reading is not my strongest point, as you can tell. 911 GT3R 992 with a 1 minute 48.5. In ninth is S7R's IRO with the Mazda Vision with a 1 minute 48.5. In 10th is T. Copeland in the RCF GT3 with a 1 minute 48.6. In 11th, the NRL Division B champion VIP JP Scales 911 GT3R with a 1 minute 48.6. In 12th is Pazocito. There we go, got it. In the Ferrari 296 with 1 minute 49.1. And in 13th place is P1R's Antivist in 296 again with a 1 minute 49.1.
Thank you very much, JK, for going over those qualifying results. Folks, we are getting prepared for all these drivers to get on the grid and to go and start our race. But, as JK probably said earlier, we are not going off the line in terms of a false start or a grid start. They're all doing a rolling start. And once they get, I believe, Alvascari, they're going to go double file line right before Parabolica. And then the leader going up to the line will get to choose when to start the race and to fly off into the distance. Hopefully leaving the pack behind. But as you know, this is a race. These guys are competitive, and they're not going to let P1 get away too easily. Believe we are starting to see these guys. Yes, in less than 10 seconds, we'll be heading over onto the grid side and start this rolling start procedure. JK, how do people want to approach a rolling start, like competitively as a race, not in terms of a rule set?
It depends on the track. So this track, if it was me, I would leave it to the very last minute because it avoids any sort of potential slipstream to the first corner for you in first in pole position. In the last race, so in where do we go? It was Laguna Seca. Yeah, I was racing that one. I should remember that. That one. If I was pole, I know I didn't start in pole. Rick Shear did. My plan was to start straight on that hairpin corner at the last corner, because it means that I can get out go while someone's halfway through that corner still. Does that make sense? So you really got to pick where you want to go, and it very much is dependent on the track. And also, some of these cars are better on the move and starting than they are when they're in standstill as well. So you have to really bear that in mind too.
Absolutely.
I
Having to
think
know the track as well as your car's capabilities.
that's right. I think the
That's
Viper's going to be a monster down the straight, especially with the Nismo GTR cutting the wind for it. I think it's going to be quite quick. It's going to be an interesting couple of first laps.
Well, that's the interesting thing. JK Moose will be standing side by side, so he doesn't have any slip. The first people to get slip will be the two Porsches behind the Super S2K. Oh, no, I think Shred is in fourth. My apologies. So the Audi and the Porsche will take the first bits of slipstream. But it's always nice to see that 4 different cars take on the 4 top spots.
Yeah, it is nice. In my experience with these, I've raced round 1 and round 2. Is the lead car does have a slight advantage just because they know when they're going to go and everyone else is reacting. Does that make sense? So you always got that, couple of tenths of a second to react to the car going. And so, if Moose is quick enough, he can maybe try and dart in behind Wid before the car directly behind him does. But you never know. Here we are. They're going to start warming up their tyres. Not too much though. You need them for the rest of the race.
Absolutely, going down into a scurry. This is where these guys or after this corner is where you're going to see a lot of these guys start double filing.
I'm glad that we've got gone inside the car with Wid. So you can see, to conserve fuel, because obviously we're just talking about fuel being very important, he's got the car in 6th gear, almost coasting along to ensure that he's not burning too much fuel.
Because if he burns fuel, that is just wasted fuel. And if he wants to waste fuel, he'd rather do it in the race, not before it.
That's right.
Side by side, Wid taking pole position, almost 3/10 clear of 2nd place in the rest of the grid. Fantastic showing for the team in red, white, and black. Going into Parabolica, these guys know what they're doing, side by side perfectly. All we are waiting now is Wid. Wid, when will you start the beautiful round 3 of the IRO and S7R GT Sprint Championship? And the answer, I believe, I was going to say now, unfortunately, a little bit. Oh,
Someone's gone.
Whoa, Wid will take it now. S7R Wid takes the lead of round 3 of the GT Sprint Championship. Moose closing in behind, but not enough to take a move into turn 1. Top 4 stays the same for right now. Actually, no. Shred is able to take P3 off of Super S2K. Unfortunate for the first Porsche. But Moose, as I say that, takes the slipstream. That ends the Viper, giving him the legs to make a move down into the first part of the 2nd chicane. Does he get P1 definitively? No. Wid responds by keeping his position on the outside, but a small snap on exit allows Moose to at least put pressure on Wid. Wid, I think, had to cover him off. Shred still having to keep eyes on the 2 Porsches behind Super S2K. Probably not very happy for him losing P3. Moose losing a little bit of time from Wid. Yes, the power of the Viper just roars and it keeps him ahead of the Audi and the Porsche. Super S2K close behind, going into a scurry that doesn't dare to take a move. Going out of the exit, this is where the Porsche would want to make a move, but it doesn't seem he wants to do so quite yet. Wid is just absolutely blitzing the field right now, almost 7/10 of an advantage with just a few corners to have been completed.
Red missed his braking point with the slipstream. Was going a bit quicker than he was used to.
Shred missing his braking point, but goes side by side with Super S2K. The Audi is able to take the slipstream of the Viper to keep his position so far. This is a great drain out of the first lap. Inuyasha tries to take an inside line, but Super SDK pushes up his braking point to cover him off. Little bit of sliding on the rear for both Porsche's Audi exit, but not enough to get them unsettled. The Audi trying to do everything he can to keep his P3. As we say that, taking a look down the grid, these guys are playing very nice single file line so far. But will anyone try to look for a move going to turn through 5? Yes, JP Skill tries to go for a late maneuver, but unable to take the space to claim the position. Tam still in P9. Let's take a look out of that. First off, the Lexus of one of the R8 teams, T. Copeland, takes the inside of Tam, able to make the maneuver, isn't able to get the exit speed he needs to keep his position, but Copeland does take a penalty. He's gonna have to serve that after the Ascari chicane. I believe that's where, no, I believe it's the straight before it. No, the penalty line is on Ascari, or after Ascari, yes.
Just after Ascari, it's down this straight, and it's brutal as well, the penalty line. I mean, we talk about the penalty lines always being brutal on every track, but this one in particular, because everyone's going full pelt down a straight, and you've had to slow down.
Absolutely, as we see JP Skill and Tam go side by side for a moment, but JP Skill takes the position right before they enter the corner, but of course it's a long straight. As I say that, Shred going onto the inside to try to cover off Inuyasha. Inuyasha got out of the slipstream too early, unable to carry the momentum forward to take a position. The Audi still ahead of the 3-car train, and the 2 Porsches are not giving him any sort of margin to play with.
No, it looks like actually Shred's holding up, not deliberately obviously, but holding up the 2 Porsches behind. Look at that. I mean, you wouldn't want to be that close for too long.
Shred doing a small defensive maneuver.
I was just about to say, Shred is putting that car exactly where he needs to put it, and it's making it very difficult for Super 2K to do anything with it. He's racing really well. That is top-notch racecraft, that is.
How do you race when you know slipstream is arguably the biggest factor of attacking and defending? What is your mindset, JK, when you need to be that defensive car?
It's okay. So if I was in Shred's position, I know my car's faster in a straight line for a moment in time, especially with the slip, and so therefore I know I can defend quite late. Does that make sense? And so you would park the car in the middle of the track or further in on the apex of the track, if you know, to try and cover those off. If you've got a car that's either the same car as you, so they're going to be a lot quicker than you with the slip, you have to start thinking about defending way earlier than you would in the Audi, for example. So you're always checking your mirrors, and obviously you don't want to make it too late because we are racing fair here, guys. So there's no weaving in and out here. It's keeping your line and keeping it clean. But Shred's doing it perfectly, like textbook, the way he was putting the cars. Yeah, textbook. I'd be very frustrated if I was Super 2K. If I felt like I could be faster if he wasn't in my way, but I can't get past him because the Audi's straight in the front straight line, even with the Porsche in slip. Yeah, I mean, it gets out of the corners so well as well, and I mean the Porsche is no slouch on the corners with traction, and the Audi is still doing it.
Absolutely. I think it's also important to know when to choose when you do your defensive maneuver, right? You want to do it when just in that perfect moments where you cut off the momentum of a slipstream. Obviously, you still have to do it safely. You can't react to anybody, but knowing when to defend is honestly just as important as knowing how to defend.
Yeah, and it's the hardest part of racing because you're trying to go quick because you want to catch the car in front. At the same time, you're trying to be very careful for the car behind you not to overtake you. So yeah, it's not a nice position to be in, especially when you know the car behind has got a bit more pace than you at the moment, and there could be multiple factors for that as to why the car behind is in front, and you're trying to judge: is it tyres? Is it me? Is it the driver? Is it the car? You know, what's going on here? How is this person so much faster than I am? And so that plays a factor in your head too.
Those are all great points, JK, and I agree with every one of them. It's you know, it's important to know these kind of things when you want to try to get towards the top, right? You know, this is information and knowledge that all these drivers share, because that's the privilege of being in such a high competitive lobby, right? Is knowing the absolute limits of what you are allowed to do and how to use every single detail in your advantage of trying to attack and defend. As I say that, the RA Lexus going down the main straight. Now he got past the Porsche of JP Scale and Tam. He wants to take on another Porsche in Payan. Hide giving him a little bit of slipstream, so this small train is not going to be easy for him to work his way up. Slipstream trains are some of the hardest to try to get an advantage on. As I say that, remember guys, the mediums and the softs are required for this race. Wade in the front most likely is taking the softs right now. Moose probably doing a similar thing. I think the first medium runners that we're going to be seeing are the Audi and the two Porsches in Shred and Super S2K and Inuyasha, but I could be wrong. The rest of the field is a bit of a toss-up in terms of what their starting tire is. Oh, as I say that, we got a little bit of extra information. Moose is on the mediums. JK, what were you going to say?
I was just about to say that the two compounds of tyre are quite similar, actually, in pace. But obviously the mediums being slightly harder wearing. Yeah, and so it's an interesting one. Whereas with the last race we had, there was a big difference. Whereas here it's not as much, maybe half a second with my limited sort of practice on it. That's what I found.
Why is that?
I think, like I said at the very beginning, this track is very much, there's less corners, more flat out. You're 80% of the time on the throttle, and so therefore the demand on the tyres are less. And if you really think about the lap itself, there's a couple of corners that require quite a bit of momentum, but there's only like two or three of them. And so I think that's the reason why that I think the mediums and the softs are just quite similar in terms of pace. But again, with my very limited, I think I spent about 4 hours having a mess about with this track, knowing I wasn't racing it this time round. I think the softs will last between 25 and 30 laps, and then you'll run the rest on the mediums. It's interesting who's picked mediums and softs first. I know we won't be divulging any of that information to obviously keep it fresh for everyone, but I think that obviously the softs are faster on the second part of your race because we've got less fuel, and so I wonder if that's played a factor in anyone's minds around what they're going to do.
Absolutely. Sorry to cut you off there, JK. Copeland takes a little bit of contact with Payan. Payan misses his apex out Lesbo 1. Copeland parrying in speed to get go a little bit behind him. But both drivers keep on trudging as if nothing happened. I believe these two guys are paid, so hopefully there's no internal bad blood after the fact. But regardless, small little bit of contact, but plenty of race to continue onward. The Lexus now firmly behind the slipstream of Porsche. I don't know if that Porsche is even close enough to get Hide's slipstream. But I know the Lexus is smelling blood in the water. He wants this his position. He's already overtaken quite a few cars already in this race. Side by side into the first chicane, the first apex of a lap, and he gets the move done. Up to P7. Welcome, Copeland. Now you have one extra car in front. Let's see what you're able to do. Copeland now taking the lead of this mini train in the midfield. JT Scale is starting to smell blood in the water too. Another Porsche on Porsche battle is starting to unfold. Payan losing a little bit of pace there, losing his car out of the second apex. JT Scale going underneath on exit to take up E8. wonderful use of his advantage in that brief moment. He saw an opportunity and he took it.
That's what it takes.
That's what it takes. But Payan is still there. Payan now taking the slipstream onto this mini straight under the underpass. Where does Payan move? Trying to look for something on the outside, but chooses against it because he wants that inside. Will he do a late braking maneuver? Negative.
Thought nothing of it.
What Payan is able to do. No response through Ascari. And a little bit behind on exit, unable to do anything.
JP Scales will be like a sigh of relief there that he's not right behind my car coming down to this corner. He'll be breathing slightly better now.
Absolutely, JP Scale, just an amazing maneuver. He saw the mistake Payan did, and he just took full opportunity of it. No second questions, no doubts. He just maneuvered his car to do whatever he needed to get in front of the Porsche. As I see that, Copeland now closing the distance between himself and Hede. I wonder if Copeland has a better tire advantage over the Porsche ahead of him. Going on to the right-hand sweeper, the sweeper that's kind of not a corner anymore, but and it kind of is with some cars. Going down into the second chicane. As I say that, we take a peek over to this train that's been brewing the entire race so far. The Audi still keeping the two Porsches behind, not able to make inroads to the Viper ahead. That's the advantage that Viper engine is on. Going down the mini straight. Let's see, the two Porsches unable to do anything. As JK mentioned before, the advantage of the acceleration advantage out of Lesmo 2 is just so much for the Porsches to overcome.
And that's coming from a Porsche that's really good coming out of corners, so the Audi is doing something right.
JK, the Porsche is just such an iconic GR3 car, right? You know, back and forth, it was what everyone would say is the best beginner-friendly car, right? In GT7, it's such a strong car during launch, but it got an update, and we got a brand new version of it, a modern version of the 911 GT3 car. What would you say are the differences between the current model that's being raced and the older model that everyone was using before? I believe it was the Spec 3 update, I want to say.
Yeah, it was. I think the biggest part of it is it's quicker in every aspect. So it's quicker acceleration, quicker top speed. But what is for me? Oh, sorry guys.
Yep, Arrow trying to find a way down the inside, but P1R is able to keep his position around the outside. But Arrow still is there. He still finds the slipstream going onto the inside. Behind him, a Ferrari taking over the Porsche as well. Arrow holding him tight onto the inside. Let's see, does the late braking maneuver work? No, but he does force. Arrow getting a little bit slidey on the exit of the chicane. Loses his ground against the Ferrari, but not enough to be swallowed by the other Ferrari behind him.
Yeah, but he'll be gathering his force there. Wow.
Going down the main straight into the braking zone. Arrow able to really try to do something on the apex, but not able to carry enough speed to make it count where it matters most, the exit.
How did he get that round to stop? That was honestly such a late break, and he managed to still get the apex.
Wow. Yeah, dude, absolutely. That was honestly really impressive and right.
He must have been standing on his brake pedal to try and get that thing to stop.
He'll probably surprise himself. Going on to the main straight, the Porsche closer than arguably ever. I wonder if Super S2K is trying to save fuel, because he should be closing in this gap a lot faster, but he isn't. Staying close behind.
He's lifting off. You can hear it.
Yes, if you didn't hear it, guys, if you saw it on camera right here, right now, the gap ever so expanded so slightly before the braking point. And JK is right. He's either lifting or at the very least using a fuel mixture. Getting closer and closer to Aldi in front, bumping him a little bit. He has no interest in trying to overtake him. What do you think is the philosophy Super S2K is holding right here, right now, JK?
Well, he wants to save time in pit, and he wants to do a lot of his overtaking in the pit. And he's obviously sitting behind Shred, and the pace that he's got behind Shred, he's happy with. He doesn't feel like Moose or Wid are getting too far ahead of him, because I think if he's looking at the Delta and thinking they're getting too far, I think he would have overtaken Shred a while ago. So I think he's using Shred, bless him. Maybe he doesn't know, but he's using him to save fuel and potentially tyres as well. You know, who knows? But he's definitely going to be making up some time in the pits. You know, we know the 911 is incredible on fuel. Like, I think it's probably the best car on the track in fuel, apart from maybe the Mazda. So yeah, that's what he's doing. I just wanted to go back to the point around the two differences between the two 911s. The biggest one for me is the stability under braking. GT7 had an update a few months, it might have been last year sometime, and it made the old Porsche very, very unstable, like to the point where it was difficult to drive. It had a lot of snap oversteer, and then they fixed it and it was a bit better, but I think the new car is much more stable under braking.
No, I agree with you there. You know, after that one specific update, the old 911 just felt really way too difficult to use for the advantages that it provided. But the new 911, it really is just a better car. You know, the modern technology in it, well, in game at least, it's just so much better. It feels way better under your feet. It feels better in the steering wheel. It feels better, most importantly, in the braking.
In VR, it's better as well. You can see a lot more, and it just feels a lot better in VR than the old one too.
Really?
Yeah. I much prefer the new one. It just, there's a lot more space, and anyone that races in VR will understand what I mean by that. Yeah,
as
wow.
I say that, Pazzacito trying to keep the two cars behind him in IRO and Tam. Tam fell a little bit down the grid, if I remember. He started way higher. But going out, let's mode 2. We got this mini straight. Let's see what these guys are able to do. IRO and Tam keeping into the slipstream of the Ferrari. Does IRO want to go around? No, because Pazzo is gonna go onto the inside, breaking into a Scari. Little bit of contact between the Monza and the Ferrari, but not enough to get anyone out of shape. Losing a little bit of distance from the Ferrari ahead. IRO now having to keep more of an eye on the Porsche behind. Porsche closer to the Monza than the Mazda is to the Ferrari, but not enough to make a move going into Parabolica. Let's see how this develops outside of Parabolica. The Porsche trying to take as wide of a line to get as much exit speed as we can. Let's see. The slipstream unable to do much currently, and I don't think Tam is going to be able to make a move, but let's see if IRO's able to do anything to the Ferrari ahead. Unable. Race currently neutralized between these three, but let's see who's going to be the first to make a blink. It looks like an IRO gets a bad second apex of the first chicane. Tam gets a little bit of contact on him. Unfortunate. That could have been a great opportunity for him to make some sort of move. Swapping up ahead. Shred still in P3, keeping the two Porsches behind, nice and settled. Nothing for them to be able to do currently.
They're having a really solid race, those three cars, and they're probably going to be working together without even talking to one another on how to claw their way back to Moose and Wid, because they're not being over aggressive with each other.
Unfortunately, it looks like Copeland fell down the grid a little bit. I remember JP Scale being behind Copeland. Copeland also fell behind Ian. Something must have happened to him in the meantime. Unfortunate for the Lexus driver. He was already catching up to P6 in Hit A, but he gets a great start.
That was incredible.
Because
he's on it. Oh, half a second. He's got a half a second penalty.
But he doesn't serve the penalty right now. He's going to serve the penalty on the next lap. So Copeland still has a chance to retain P8. He just has to drive like hell on this lap using the slipstream that JP Skill provides. High-end needs to stay close, so out of Ascari on the next turn, he is able to reclaim P8. He's approaching, he's getting closer and closer, but not enough to make a move quite yet. Copeland just wants to try to break away from the Porsche behind, but I don't think he has much time or tires left to do so. Going on to the right-hand sweeper. I wonder if there's a name for this corner. I think there is, I just don't know it.
I will look.
Thank you. Going on into the second chicane, closer to high-end than he is to JP Skill ahead. Going over the curves. Oh, JP Skill takes a little bit of gravel on the exit, but not enough to make him lose position. Not enough to force him into a move. Let's see, going out of Lesmo 1, Copeland going onto the green, keeping the car pointed straight though, into the second apex of Lesmo 2. Let's see, not able to do enough to get away from the Porsche behind. High-end still really keeping close, keeping his claws into that rear bumper. Let's see, going into Ascari. You see the warning pop up. Copeland about to serve his penalty on the exit of this corner. And High-end, congratulations, you did enough to reclaim P8. Swapping back up. Fresh 2K still playing with Shred, making him do all the work while he himself reaps the benefit in gas conservation. Smart move, especially in today's economy. It's like $5 a gallon for me in my BMW. It's ridiculous. Anyways, going to first chicane. Shred starting to lose a little bit of way in his pace, but Super S2K still wants to keep him up front. They're starting to lose a lot of time now to Moose, but Moose, well, no, Super S2K keeping a pretty much similar delta to Wid, but they're losing time to Moose. How does that affect things, JK?
I don't think they're going to panic, because although they're racing Moose, they're also racing Wid. And Moose can catch up to the back of Wid, and he might get stuck behind him. So I don't think they'll be overly too concerned. I think they'll be looking at that delta, the person in front, and making sure that that hasn't gone beyond their acceptable time before they need to start making a move and start catching time back up again. Soon we're going to be seeing this transition between the cars that started on mediums and cars that started on softs. Start to see that time coming down. There'll be almost that transition where they're almost about the same in terms of lap time, soft and medium, especially with the fuel getting less and less.
Oh, the Lexus going down the inside of the Porsche again to Ascari, able to take P8 while Payan wasn't looking. Incredible move. Must have had a great run out of Lesmo 2 to get that move done. Let's see what happened here with the replay, folks. Well, side by side by the time of the overpass, and he breaks later.
Oh,
he
that is
with
brave.
Confidence and gets that position back. No penalty this time, meaning he's gonna hold it for a little bit longer.
Right. I tell you what, out of all the cars we've been watching, the Lexus looks the most planted in any of the corners. It just looks really stable, and I don't know whether that's because it's an FR car compared to the other cars around them, which is either an MR or RR. I know we haven't seen much of Wid in his GTR. We've looked a lot at the Lexus, and it just looked really planted.
I agree with you. That car just seems like a dream to drive around here. Let's see, as we say that, Wid up front, 6.4 seconds clear of Moose. As far as we know, that Wid is currently on the soft, so that time should start shrinking very soon here. I also wanted to give a little bit of extra information. IRO and I believe P11 or P12 did pick up front end damage, so that's possibly affecting his run currently, especially around a track that demands so much from aerodynamic efficiency and straight line speed. But still, with no response from anyone else on the grid, Moose in P2 starting to close that gap ever so slightly. Almost too wide.
Woohoo. They've had enough.
Oh,
Super 2K had enough. He's off. Oh, he got a half second.
Super S2K with a penalty. Shred having to be side by side with Inuyasha with the other Porsche. Shred going underneath Super S2K. Let's see what he does. Is he able to get a better exit to claim back P3? Not exactly, but he is side by side. Going onto the main straight, Inuyasha in the slip of the Audi. He's gonna make this 3 wide. Folks, we're seeing a 3-way. P3 Super S2K backs out before the braking point. Shred keeps Inuyasha tight. Shred with the late braking maneuver, able to keep the position. Just a little bit out of
oh my god!
Out the exit. Inuyasha, no response quite yet, but he gets one more turn with the slipstream going through Kermit de Grande. Thank you, JK, for letting me know that name. Let's see, does Inuyasha want to do anything into the second chicane? Not enough speed, not enough power. Shred keeps P3 currently.
How did Shred stop the car? How did he stop? I actually thought he was going to go off. How did he stop it? What a turn one.
Let's go all the way back. Let's see how this unfolded. I believe Super S2K hit Shred slightly. But regardless, Super S2K shown to the outside. Unfortunate, unable to keep himself onto the curb. That resulted in him getting a penalty. Shred out of shape for Yaskari allows Inuyasha to go on that inside, but the power from the Audi's engine keeps him afloat for one more lap. Going into Ascari, Inuyasha still behind. Super S2K is going to fall away due to the penalty that he has to serve right now. Wow.
I still can't get over the fact that Shred stopped the car. Like what? He must have been absolutely standing, throwing the gears down and everything to try and get that thing to stop.
That's what you have to do to keep position, JK. That's what you have to do to win around these parts. Wow, an incredible counter from Shred. You're right, that braking was absolutely perfect. Any small mistake in that portion of that first chicane, and he would have been down the grid. Incredible. Anyways, going back, we have stabilized a little bit. Shred still keeping ahead of the two Porsches behind. No response quite yet, but I know these Porsches are starting to get a little bit agitated from having the Audi ahead.
That fighting has cost them about 3 seconds to win. I think they were about 10 seconds before they started fighting. So they might settle down a little bit and start bringing that delta back down again.
Interesting. Well, JP Skill giving a small bump to the extra Porsche ahead and hitting. My apologies. A little bit of something in my throat. But going through Lesmo 1, Hede goes onto the race.
Oh, he's off.
Wide. Will he take a penalty? That's what we're interested in seeing. Missing the second apex of the Lesmos.
He's going to have 30 tires though.
He does have 30 tires. How will this affect the battle going to Ascari? Hede got away with a penalty, luckily.
He's gone super defensive here.
JP Skill just wants that slipstream going into the apex of the first part of Ascari. This JP Skill just trying to keep the speed up with whatever way he can, fighting against the dirty air. Doesn't seem to have done much for his chances on Hede, going into Parabolica and out of Parabolica. That's where this battle really transforms. Into the apex, nice and tight. JP Skill wants to get onto his throttle as early as possible. Now he's just purely behind in that slipstream. Will he attempt to make a move? Hede wants to keep that inside line though. Doesn't want to make JP Skill life any easier than he needs to. Going onto the outside line. But Hede gets the break.
He stops. He gets it stopped.
Correct, but they switch in between the first part and second part of the apex. Not able to do enough to get 6. The JP Skill behind Hede to Cumbre Grande. looking for that inside line. Hide isn't able to move early enough to cover him off. Going into the braking, Hide will brake so much later.
What a break.
Has to do everything he can to keep P6.
I think he's last of the late breakers, I think. He's missed the apex there, but that's okay. It's only a one line through here.
Yes, but does that one line compromise allow for one better line on the exit? Hide sliding through Lesmo 2, doing everything he can to pick up the speed. JP Skill not allowing him to get away too easily. Going into Ascari in single file line. Going through the first part of the apex as we swap back up into P3 with Shred still ahead in the Audi, ahead of the two Porsches. These two Porsches must be furious for all the time that they're losing right now, but they don't have any sort of response against Shred right now. But Super S2K trying to do everything he can to find his way ahead of Inuyasha.
We're going to really start seeing the difference now between the medium and soft. I wanted to mention actually, when we panned to Moose earlier on, his lap times were incredibly consistent. And when you see consistency, look at that. Thanks. That is incredibly consistent. And when you see consistency like that, he's done his homework and he is on for a good shout for this race. You know, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this ends up on the second part of this race for Moose.
You're right, consistency is key in any sort of endurance race. It's just so important to be, as we say that, looks like what happened to our Hide? I wonder if he went into the pits. No, he fell back into P9. He must have made a mistake, costing him 3 positions in the meantime. Fortunately, we didn't catch the replay. Unfortunate, but
he looked a bit loose, to be honest, and I wonder if his tyres are giving up. I'm not sure what tyre he has.
That is true. Hide was sliding the car quite a lot in his battle against JP Skill. JP Skill now taking the best of the rest title currently. Going through the chicane, the Porsche just trying to stay ahead of the Lexus behind. RA's Team Copeland trying to do anything he can to get up to P6, but will his tires keep up with him? High and behind, you see him in the mirror, 6.5 tenths going into Parabolica. High and overtaken by Copeland twice so far in this race, but he doesn't want to let Copeland get any further ahead as we are speaking. Going onto the main straight, JP Skill ahead enough to cover up Copeland's slipstream, but High-End still needs to keep an eye behind. Red going out of the first chicane. Let's see what happens here now. I want to say Inuyasha and Super S2K are still probably trying to do everything they can to conserve fuel at the moment. They lost their window of an overtake. They lost their window to get ahead of the Audi. They have to pay the price because of that. Shred getting a bad exit, but ironically, considering he got a better sector 1. Shred
he's gone out, he's gone.
The car, I think he keeps it. Yes, he does. Does he keep it out of the wall? That's what I'm wondering. Does he?
I wonder if he's got. I think he might have got damage. I told you, get that green stuff will spit you out. I did say it will take you out if you use it too much. Here we go. He got unstable there, and that just kicked everything off for him.
See, going out of Lesmo 1. I just want to see, does he keep it out of the wall or not? That's the most important part. He does it.
Oh! He's going to have damage, aero damage, suspension damage. He's going to be struggling. I mean, he is quite lucky. We are getting into close to the window of swapping tyres, and I suppose, you know, there is some tolerances between how many laps you can get out of a tyre, and maybe, hopefully, he might see that he might be within those tolerances. So it might not be too bad for him. Here he comes, he's in.
Super S2K and Shred are the first hitters of the race.
Both medium tyres, first stint, so they'll be very fast coming out on the softs with the lower tyres on the second stint.
Do you think the softs will get to the end though, JK? That's the question.
Yeah, I think they can do. I mentioned earlier. I think they can do about 30 laps as long as you're kind. The Porsche definitely, and I know the Audi is quite similar in terms of tyre wear, so I think they'll be okay.
Well, Wed still in the lead, most likely on the softs. But you see the times on the right-hand side. Last lap wasn't the greatest, 50.9. Those lap times are starting to come down a little bit. But he still seems to be able to keep himself pushing forward. The wear of the softs is offset by the lower fuel tank.
I'm really impressed with that. Look at that consistency. Like, honestly, Moose, if you're listening to this, what consistency, mate. That's amazing.
He is doing a fine job in that Viper. Going back, JP scale up to P4 currently because of the two pitters. Again, ahead of the train. Best of the rest so far. In that Porsche, going back to what you said in VR, I know one certain team loves VR in the PDX guys, so if we see them anytime during the season, I have an idea of what car they're going to choose. As we go down the grid, Super S2K ends up in P9 once he gets out of the pits, ahead of Shred, of course, because he entered the pits ahead of him, but more so because of the fuel that he saved. Going onto the back straight, going down into Parabolica. This all depends on how well does he climb back up the grid. That's what's really going to determine his finishing result. As I say that, IRO on the inside of Pazosito going into Parabolica, but Pazosito is able to take back P10 for the moment. Let's see what happens now. Payan into the pits, getting off those mediums, probably going onto the softs. IRO still has some sort of response going onto the main straight. Pazosito covers the inside. Does he defend his position? No, IRO gets a little bit of a better braking maneuver. Keeps on to the inside of the second apex, but loses out on exit speed. And oh no, Pazosito picks up a penalty. I wonder if that's because of the first apex.
I would imagine so. It's so easy around here to pick up a penalty, and they are really harsh.
They are very unforgiving, especially through Ascari, if anything. That's where I would pick up most of my penalties.
Yeah, me too.
Well, going into Les Mo's,
that's why we're up here and we're not driving.
Yeah. That is true, folks. It's a lot better to talk than it is to race. As we say that, Copeland, the slipstream of the Porsche ahead of him, JT Skill wants to hold his position for as long as possible. Preferably, he wants to be ahead of Copeland before they go into the pits, which should be fairly soon.
Yeah, we're definitely very much into a pit window now. Any moment now. Next few laps.
Do you think Copeland in the Lexus has to pit later due to the fact that he's in a Lexus and not a Porsche?
It's difficult because the Lexus isn't as good on fuel, so I think I don't really know, if I'm honest with you. I'll be speculating. He might want to follow the car in to use the no, there we go, he just answered our question. No, he's going to carry on going. He doesn't need the slipstream. Maybe that will release some pace for him. He's not having to put another car.
Well, Inuyasha taking his pit stop of the race as well onto the softs. JP scale, same car, the Porsche, comes into pits with 7 liters less.
He's been riding that fuel.
Absolutely. Pazosito side by side with Shred, but Pazosito probably doesn't want to fight this. He knows Shred already took his pit stop for the race. He knows that he's on a faster set of tires and he's a faster car overall. Defending against him would be counterintuitive.
Yeah, he'll use him to try and get some pace out of it down the slips and stuff like that. He won't want to fight that too much. He's got his own race to do, and he's not with Shred.
P1R Antivis, currently in P5, ahead of the dashing Super S2K. That Porsche wants to do everything he can to make his way back up the field, make up time, make up lost places. But he does have a few slower cars to get ahead of in the meantime. Wade and Moose still up front. not taking their pit stops quite yet. I'm really wondering where Moose is gonna end up after the pits. As I say that, Moose is in the pits. Look at the performance of a fresh set of softs compared to a worn out mediums. So much time gain between them. Is that a bit of lag there? I guess the time of day change. Anyway, Super S2K down the inside and into Parabolica. The Ferrari not able to do much in response. That's the power of a fresh set of softs. Is he ahead of Moose going onto the main straight into the pit? No, Moose seems to have covered off Super S2K pretty well. Heyday taking up P3, but he still is yet to pit. Copeland got ahead of Heyday as well. Let's see here
he's lit that mirror tires up.
He did, but the Ferrari did have some sort of response out of the Parabolica, able to contest the position into the chicane, but still lost at the end. Super S2K, P5. P6 is P1R Antivis, Inuyasha, and P7, losing so much time because of the field of Super S2K saying Moose having 2 cars ahead of him that he needs to navigate through. Will these 2 cars hit right here, right now? That's the question. It will give him a lot more margin.
Yeah, I think he's timed this almost to perfection here. I mean, that's not helpful. That car's got a half-second penalty. But he'll probably be thankful for the slipstream just to give him a few more MPH or KPH, depending on where you are seeing this and what you measure your speed at down the straights. And he'll be nursing these tyres up to temperature at the moment. Doesn't want to overcook them too soon.
Yes, they want to do a slow introduction to make sure that these tires have a long, healthy life. For us to batter them at the end of the race.
That's right.
Going into Parabolica, able to get Hiday's position nice and well. No complications due to the penalty that Hiday took on. Going on to the main straight. P3 currently 1 extra car ahead of him to get back up to P2 and work his way for the rest of the race. Super S2K a bit behind, probably because of all the squabbling that he had to do with Shred and Inuyasha. Payan ahead of JP Scale. I believe he has Payan? Yeah, they both pit. Payan must have saved a little bit more fuel compared to the Porsche behind, resulting in Payan jumping JP Scale through the pit window.
Yeah, the 911. The 911 is an interesting car. You can over-rev it and you can under-rev it, and it's the same speed. And so it's knowing where to change the gear on that car. As Copeland gets a bit slidey. So yeah, it's an interesting car, that 911. And it's not a big difference in terms of where you change the gear. It's a really small difference, and the small difference makes a massive difference in terms of fuel consumption.
Yes, the Group 3 Supra, because I competed in the Group 3 class yesterday on PhD series. Same thing. You had to shift it at various different points to be able to maximize pace and fuel conservation. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. I'll tell you what, Copeland is doing incredible in this Lexus.
Yeah.
Oh, so Wid was on softs first stint. Wid was on softs, so he's going to switch over to the mediums now and finish off the race.
Let's see, where does Wid come out of? Because he will be on the slower tire, but he will be only needing to do about 25 laps. Copeland going into the pits. Moose chasing a little bit just to get the slipstream. Moose is ending up.
He's not going to be that far ahead of him. Once that time settles down, about 6-7 seconds.
Yeah, 7 seconds. But here's the thing, JK. Moose is on softs. Wid is on mediums.
That's correct, and he's on lighter fuel. We're going to see the delta drop really fast now in the next few laps, and Moose getting on the back of Wid.
True, Moose with the MMR team having a chance to give his teammate in Stint 2 the lead of the race. JK, could you go over the handoff rules one more time?
So these drivers will come in on the penultimate lap, which will be technically their last lap, but not the last lap of the race. So they'll come in at end of lap 50. In another lobby, hosted by somebody else, will be the teammates of these drivers, and they will be waiting in pits with only 5 litres of fuel. And at the point of transition is when the first car in the lobby that we're watching right now comes to a standstill in the pit stop. They will tell their driver friend either in team chat or radio, or if they're sitting next to them, tap them on the shoulder and say, you are good to go. And so then what happens is then the drivers in the second lobby then make sure they're on the right tires and start refueling the car to the level that they want. And then those drivers will drive then to the end of the race.
I like the image there of tapping
like a relay, handing over the baton in a relay.
Wonderful. Let's do a little bit of an on-lap action with Wade going down into the first chicane, braking at the 100-meter board, going over the first apex, trying to cut the track as much as possible without picking up a penalty. Power on, nice and early. Those cones came from somewhere. Going through Curvia Grande. Nice and tight. These Group 3 cars have a lot of downforce, more than we give them credit for, into the second chicane. Braking nice and straight again over the curves. Try to cut the distance as short as possible, but still giving you enough traction on exit into Lesmo 1. The apex is that little asphalt pathway in the middle of the corner. Lesmo 2, brake at the 50-meter board, carrying the speed over the apex. Bit of an offset camber can unsettle the car, but Wid is doing enough to keep that car pointed straight. As I say that, look at the delta. Moose is starting to get that time back. Wid leading time, but Wid going into Ascari. Get that first chicane, first part of the chicane nice and tight, because you want to be on the power as early as possible going onto this mini straight. Let's see. 5.5 seconds separate the two drivers right here, right now. That time is gonna cut back down as the race progresses. Into Parabolica, nice early apex, so you can swing out wide, carry the power onto the main straight, but you want to cut back a little bit to the right to save yourself some extra time. 49.7 is one of his first hot laps on the medium set. Going down the grid, Copeland exiting the pits in front of High-End and JP Scale, but he does have two Ferraris in front of him in terms of Pazosito and Antavis. See, JP Scale losing a little bit of time from High-End than what we were seeing a little bit earlier. I wonder what happened there. Pazosito going into the pits. He was on the softs for the first part of the race, going onto the mediums next.
Everything will start settling down now. This is where we'll start to see cars wanting to actually overtake one another, because it's now coming towards the end of the not just right at the end, but it's now places mean something with regards to Stint 2 and the drivers starting their time. And there's everything all to play for, just because, you know, the positions the cars are in now means that's how it's going to end. At the end of the 3-hour sprint race, it's not, and a lot of things can change, so stay tuned, guys. And also, if you haven't already, hit the like button, it helps, and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yes, subscribe to the wonderful McNaughty. He's helping us produce this in the background. Owner of the NRL series as well. If you guys have kept up with us, you probably have known him plenty as much. He also competes in some racing series. You know, JK, he raced in PHG's first round yesterday. He didn't do the greatest, I would say, but it's first time, just bad luck, right? Bad luck. But anyways, back up to P2. McNaughty will probably yell at me after that. Anyways, P2, Moose, now 4.2 seconds separating P1 and P2. He is definitely going onto a charge, but he has to keep an eye on that Porsche behind, Super S2K. on the softs as well. He's not letting these two get away so much. These three are probably going to come at a standstill later on into the race. But we only have 20 laps of action left before these guys have to hand it off to their teammate in the second lobby for Stint 2. JK, if you had to put your bets on somebody right here, right now, who do you think is going to win this, win? Who do you think will be in the lead by the time we go into Stint 2?
I think Moose will. It depends on how hard Wid fights, and we know Wid is a great driver. I can't get past the sheer power down the straight from the Viper. And I think once Moose gets onto the back of Wid, I think it's just a matter of time that he will just wait to just blow past him on one of the straights.
Very interesting to see the duality of the Viper. Super strong at the Red Bull Ring, horrible at Laguna Seca, but still getting a great performance here in Monza. That's how these cars, line up, guys. Every car has its advantages and disadvantages, and it's up to the drivers and the teams to learn how to navigate them and how to maximize their best results. Going on board with Copeland in the Lexus. Great opening stint on those medium tires. I thought he was on the softs for a moment, but now he's on the softs, trying to do everything he can to catch up to P1R Antivis, but I don't believe he has pit fight yet, so this battle shouldn't be too hard. High and behind, 1.6 seconds separating the two. JP Scale behind, not quite sure the distance between that, but a lot larger, I can tell you that much. Going into Parabolica, braking right before the 50-meter board. Getting the car nice and pointed at the apex, so you go out wide, carry the power. JK, how hard is it to keep your consistency over a race distance, right? This stint is an hour and a half, next stint is also an hour and a half. How tough is it to keep your mind fresh towards the end of a race?
It's really tough, especially when you're trying to compete with tires that are failing. You're obviously fatigued as well. You've been racing for well over an hour, and you've been racing in different compounds. You've been racing with different fuel strats, while trying to race other drivers as well. And so it's hard to keep your mind focused. Things that I try to do is I just go into almost like a robot mode. It's like, this is my brake point, this is my accelerating point, and I kind of just talk myself around the track. Does that make sense? So I'm talking myself around the track rather than just reacting to the things around me, and that kind of keeps my mind in a place where I can remain consistent, all while you're trying to navigate tires that are starting to fail.
I do very much the same thing. You lose focus over such a long time, right? At the beginning of the race, you're hyped up, you're excited, you want to do good for your team.
Yeah, your heart's pumping, you're going, yeah.
But when you're in the dying stages of a race, right, your body is a little bit tired, you feel, depending on the position you're in, right, you could be a little bit redundant. As I say that, Copeland's tires just give him such a great advantage going through a Ferrari not able to do much, no response by P1R Antivis, and Copeland sails by down the inside. Great move by the Lexus as we take a little bit of a peek up front. That gap is now 2.4 seconds out of the first chicane on Tour 32. We're going to see a battle in the next 5 laps, I think, JK.
He is smelling Wid's jet fuel that he puts in his car. He can smell that now, he's on it.
But yeah, it can be difficult to keep your focus. So, your point of, trying to talk yourself through a lap consistently, that helps me as well. I find myself doing that as well. Another thing I like to do is, especially when I know I'm kind of in open air, is just not to look at the timings around me, right? Because we have so much data in our HUD, our lap times, our gaps, it helps me to just not look at any of that and just to keep an eye on the track.
So VR, you don't get any of that information, and so I quite like that. I wouldn't mind if I could press a button and someone tell me, like a computer AI generated version says you are 5 seconds ahead or 2 seconds behind or whatnot. But to have it constantly there, you're right, it is a massive distraction.
It is. And any anything you can do to, you know, get your mind into a better state to pump out extra hot laps is something you gotta consider. As I say that, Payan keeping the slipstream nice and snug, but goes out of the slipstream a little bit just to make sure his braking isn't affected in dirty air. P1R Antivis missing out on his whatchamacallit, on his apex in the middle of the chicane, allow Payan to go onto the outside. Will Antivis try to this position? He can, he does for a little bit. Payan with the fresher tires sweeps it around the outside. Now we're going to be seeing a side-by-side action going onto the main straight. Or not, Antivis goes into the pits. Well, let's see. I'm getting news, JK, that Tom still has yet to pit.
Yep. He, I mean, he's going to...
I'm sorry, Tom has pitted. My apologies, guys. I was thinking he didn't. But anyways. Yes, the Lexus driver, R.A. Asylum. Best of the rest so far. Shred, but it just has such a huge gap. Even with that damage and that mistake, still 15 seconds ahead of P6. Let's see. Ooh, a little bit of gravel action out of the second chicane, but not enough to make him feel any sort of hurt. Let's see. Up to P2 again. 1.6 seconds.
Has Moose got half a cup of jet fuel in his fuel tank and a Pennzoil oil filter in there, has he?
He has nitrous.
If you know, you know.
Folks, this is like Fast and Furious, where they just, you know, flip a button and they suddenly have 100 more horsepower.
Yeah, I reckon it's the Pennzoil oil filter, high performance.
It's actually the K&N air filter. Anyways, 1.3 seconds covers the gap between P1 and P2. We're expected to see a battle in the next 2 laps, folks, so make sure you stay in your seats. This is getting spicy. This is for the lead of Stint 1, Split 1. This doesn't necessarily determine the race, right? These guys are swapping their teammates at the end of this race, lap 50, so just because Moose is able to get ahead of Wid doesn't mean that they're winning the race definitively. They still have an hour and a half after their turn to determine who gets named the winner of round 3. Going into Lesmo 1, a second split, the Nissan and the Viper. Going into Lesmo 2, that gap gets a little bit wider, 1.2 seconds, but the Viper's still in the trails of the GTR.
Yeah, he'll start feeling the dirty air from the GTR now. So through these corners, he probably won't like it too much, but he'll love the slipstream it gives him down the straights.
Absolutely, and I saw in the background Super S2K and Inuyasha. Closer than expected between the two, so the fight for P3 is not over quite yet as well.
Ooh, as I that say was that. Slippery.
Yeah.
He's trying to clean those tires up.
With some mind games of weaving behind Super S2K. Let's see what happens now into Parabolica. That nice little 4-wheel drift, that slip angle to try to maximize entry speed. Going onto the main straight. You know, so JK, you're in 4th place with Inuyasha. What is your mindset? Would you rather work with Super S2K, knowing that Wid is starting to fall behind, or would you try to fight for P3 immediately?
If I was on the limit, so I felt like I could overtake, but it would be purely down to the fact that I've got slip rather than just outright pace, I would probably sit behind the car. If I felt like my pace in through the corners was better, I would look to overtake. It's all about how you're feeling with the car at the moment in time, and sometimes you just have to run with whatever it is that you've got. As you know, to overtake a car cleanly, you've got to be quite a bit faster than the person in front, and then what you don't want to do is then have that back and forth like we saw with Shred in the previous, before the pits, where they were fighting with each other in the end because neither one of them could get away with each other because they were all quite similar in pace. So I'd be very cautious at this moment in time in the race of doing that, because I would be looking to catch up with these two cars up in front. Because these two
Absolutely.
Porsches have the opportunity, to be honest, to catch Wid as well, depending on how fast they work together. And so, you know, potentially Wid could find himself fighting for P3.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you, and I think I would do the same, knowing that there is an opportunity for one additional position falling back ahead. Interesting to see that the GTR seeming to have a pace advantage through the Lesmos despite having the tire disadvantage against the Viper. That's just how well the GTR is in terms of cornering machine onto the main straight. Moves firmly in the slipstream of the GTR ahead, but not close enough to contest going into the first chicane. Into the
Yeah,
braking zone. Moose able to brake a little bit later just due to that tire advantage, but misses his second apex. Inuyasha behind, maybe looking for a move, but not quite sure. Into the slipstream firmly, going into Curvea Grande. Moose up ahead, 6'10" separate the leader and P2. 5'10's going into the second chicane, but this is where Moose should lose a little bit of time due to the Viper cornering disability. Into the second chicane for the two Porsches. Playing nice and steady, no sort of sudden moves, no sort of dive bombs, and they get through it quite nicely.
Wid's trying to respond to Moose's times. He just put in his fastest lap on the mediums, is the last lap. I think he's trying to manage that gap now. Moose is going to be struggling with the dirty air. You know, we all know the Viper is not the best cornering, and so he'd probably be chewing those soft tyres up a bit more than he would like to, following dirty air going through all the corners.
You know, JK, there is some, you know, tactics upper drivers in real life do, right? They may sometimes try to force the car behind a little bit closer before a sequence of corners, so they would lose more time overall due to the dirty air.
That's correct. That's correct. And, you know, we're looking at top drivers here, so there's all sorts of skullduggery going on, I'm sure.
Absolutely, but at the end of the day, Moose wants to do everything he can to take that lead, because every lap that passes is another lap those softs wear down, and another lap of Wid possibly being able to keep the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the more laps that continue, the better it is for Wid, because Moose will be chewing that tyre up, and it just means that eventually the offset between the two tyres become either equal, or actually the medium tyres slightly better.
Absolutely, yep. There will eventually be a transition point where the softs and the mediums are basically equal on pace, and at that point, I don't think Moose will have any chance of getting ahead of the GTR.
No. And the GTR is strong here, much stronger than the Viper, regardless of what tyre.
Absolutely. Great little machine for this wonderful temple of speed out in Italy. Going out of Lesmo 2, Moose loses a lot of time. Bad apex at the second Lesmo, causing him to fall a little bit behind. Inuyasha also falling a little bit behind of Super S2K. They're not exactly going to be helping one another right here, right now, but if Inuyasha is able to put in a little bit more pace, find a little bit more lap time, then absolutely Super S2K could be helped into a higher position. Shred in P5, 10 seconds separating himself to P4, and about 15 seconds separating himself from P6. Unfortunate to see the mistake that has happened earlier on, because Shred really could have been in this three-way fight for P3 if he didn't get that damage. Unfortunate to see, but that's how endurance racing can be.
Yeah, and the thing with endurance racing, you never know what's going to happen in the second stint or anything, and that's what I like about endurance racing rather than short sprint racing. There are a lot of variables that come into play.
I agree. I think you know, hour and a half, sometimes two. I think they're kind of the perfect length of time where the strategy is important, the strategy is also like fun to, you know, play, but also not too long where you feel like, you know, you get really tired and starting to get sick of it.
Yeah. I mean, I did round 1 and 2 for this series, and I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping that my fellow teammates that are replacing, that are racing for my team in the next stint, the split, sorry, I hope they enjoy it as well. This is an incredible championship, and anyone thinking about trying to compete next year, I would strongly recommend joining. This is my first season doing this, and I have loved it.
Well, you heard it here. Oh wait!
Oh no! Half a second. That's a real shame. That is. It's been so close. He's obviously seeing Moose behind him. He wants to push. That errors come even when you are the best. You can still make a mistake.
This is also the closest Moose has been going onto the main straight. Let's see, does he smell blood in the water? Will he take this P1 before the penalty line?
I mean, look at the speed difference here.
He's revving out that engine. He's going for the boom.
He's in.
The inside. Braking late.
Oh, he's gone.
A little bit of contact on the second apex, but he still keeps it. Oh, and yes.
Oh no, there's another one. They're all at it. Is there oil there? Does the oil slip? What's happened?
Let's see what happens between the two Porsches. Inuyasha close behind Super SDK onto the main straight. Pulls out into the inside line quite late. I think he brakes. Yes, he brakes a little.
Oh, super late. Yeah.
Unable to slow down the car enough. Super SDK taking a little bit of avoiding action.
Yeah, he done well not to hit anyone, and to not get. Oh, did he get a penalty? No, he didn't get a penalty. He done well there.
He did. Positions neutralized so far, but Inuyasha certainly has the pace to get P3 onto the mini back straight in WED under the overpass.
I suppose the thing now is how far can Moose get ahead of WID, or how close can WID stay with Moose? It's an interesting one, you know.
The question, especially with this penalty, does WID fall into the clutches of the two Porsches behind?
They could do. I mean, they were circulating around the same pace, but you know, the soft tyres now have got a few laps on them, and so they won't be at their best. The medium tyre is a much more consistent tyre. We saw that with Moose's lap times on the mediums. They, you know, as long as you're driving them right, they can be incredibly consistent. In fact, more consistent than the soft.
You're absolutely right there. As we take a look, Pazzacito and Tam, Porsche versus Ferrari, onto the mini back straight, going down the small hill. Pretty much the only piece of elevation change throughout this entire track. Going into Ascari, braking at the blackboard on the right hand side on the fence. Get the car nice pointed out for a fast exit. Tam seems to have the pace advantage right now, though.
What a great looking car, though.
They are. These guys, all these teams probably have, designated liveries creator for all their cars.
You can see the Firestarter team. They've got 2 gold drivers and 2 bronze drivers. So, yeah, as we all already know, they're all super fast. You know, if you look at the driver card there. Super team, super drivers.
I'm very interested in seeing which of those drivers gets put into the car for the next stint.
Yeah, looking forward to the next stint.
To the chicane, Tam still ahead of Pazzacito. Not much of a response that the Ferrari can give to the Porsche. Up ahead, back into the P3 action. 3.3 seconds separate P2 and P3. 1.5 between P3 and P4. Has the race settled down, or are we only getting started? These lap times are going to keep on falling down as the fuel tank reduces in density. Going on to the main straight, over the start-finish line. Another lap begins. Lap 41. 10 laps to go. Remember, guys, these drivers are going to pit at the end of lap 50. Once they stop in the pit box, they're going to tell their teammates, probably through a PSN chat. I doubt it will be a relay baton or tapping them on the shoulder. I could be wrong, but
You never know.
most likely, you never know. Likely they're going to tell their teammate through PSN chat or something similar, and the Stint 2 driver will be dropped. They will be refueled, because remember, they start at 5%, and then wherever they feel that they did enough refueling, they're going to then continue on with the race.
That's right. Do you reckon, do you know, I know how they're definitely not going to message each other is through smoke signals and Morse code. I reckon that's definitely out the window.
I feel like Morse code has a higher chance of happening, despite the fact that both are probably never going to happen.
Yeah.
But
Smoke
Morse code
signals.
can. Alright, down the mini back straight into Ascari. That gap has shrunk down by a second since the last lap, so those softs still have a little bit of time as I see, but yeah, no, the gap behind is still pretty much the same, 1.5 separating P3 and P4. So, I don't know if you've raced in Stint 2, but is there any sort of difference in mindset that a driver has to contend with between being a Stint 1 and a Stint 2 driver?
Yeah, so Stint 1, obviously you've got to do the qualifying, so there's a lot more pressure on the Stint 1 driver to do the qualifying, do a good job, and then obviously then make a decision on what tyre to start on. The Stint 2 driver is essentially whatever happens in Stint 1 is you're reacting to that. And so that could be down to tyre, that could be down to how much fuel you put in the car. Do you fill the car all the way up, or do you only fill it up enough to go around your first load of laps before you have to swap tyres? And also, you don't have to worry about the starting procedure of a race if you're in Stint 2. So the pressure's slightly less, in my experience, for Stint 2 drivers than the Stint 1 driver. There's a lot more going on that you can get wrong. For example, you can mess qualifying up, you can mess up the starting procedure and potentially give your team a disqualification or a time penalty after the fact of the race. Does that make sense? So I think there's a little. When I did Stint 1 last round, I felt a bit more pressure than round 1 when Bobagito did the Stint 1 for me on that, and I just reacted to the race on Stint 2. So yeah, there's a difference. I mean, they're still both pressurized. I'm not trying to downplay Stint 2, because ultimately, if you've got a Stint 1 driver that's done a good job in whatever position they're in, you want to keep it or better it, right? You don't want to get worse, and so there's a bit of pressure there as well.
Absolutely, there is different dynamics between the entire duration of an endurance race. Even this smaller one, if you want to call it, with only it being 2 stints for each round, compared to the GTEC championship that goes up to 24 hours. But all the same, it is a team effort, it is a team sport, and these guys want to do right by their teammates. So Moose seemed to have lowered the gap a little bit. He's getting back up, but he dropped down to 2.9 seconds when previously it was at 3. Wonder if he had a little bit of an offshoot. His lap time suggests he got a penalty or something like that. But regardless, still ahead, 3.6 seconds clear of P2 and the ever so approaching P3.
And again, his consistency. Look at it. Apart from that one off the 52nd, look at the rest of them.
Absolutely, just kicking in the hot laps.
Yeah, he's definitely he's switched on for this one, and him and the car are at one. They've merged like Megatron in Power Rangers.
Oh, remember, guys, you guys don't have to go anywhere. This stream will be rated on to the Stint 2 part of the stream, so you don't have to do anything. You don't have to, exit out and go to a different YouTube channel or anything like that. As long as you keep on this stream, it's going to automatically throw you onto the Stint 2 stream. and you will be able to see the final hour and a half of this race. And then, of course, later today, we will also be seeing the split 2 part of this round, which should start about 30 minutes, I want to say, after the end of Stint 2. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but, you know, there is split 2 to be
Super S2K is going to be on the back of with very soon. He is
Absolutely.
there. And don't forget, guys, like and subscribe. Sorry, Hover, I'm cutting you off there. I want to make sure to remind everyone.
Yes, please subscribe to every one of the channels that are partaking in streaming these races and stints. They all do quite a lot of work in the background to provide the best experience possible, and we are happy to show off one of those experiences being the fight for P2 and P3. Super S2K on dying soft, still not letting the mediums of WID get away too nice and easily, going a bit onto the gravel. Inuyasha behind, falling a little bit behind, 2.4 seconds now, when the gap was only 1.5. Going through the Lesmos. Super S2K falling a little bit behind, but through Lesmo 2, the gap kind of settles down, going onto the green stuff, losing a bit of traction and exit speed. WID is just keeping that boat steady, trying to do everything he can to get to lap 50 and pass off the car.
Yeah, and they'll be contending now with the track temperature dropping. You know, it's getting later on in the day. By the way, this is my favourite sort of time on this game, with the way the car works and looks. The lights are on, the exhaust is popping flames. I think this game looks incredible in this sort of time of day. But yeah, track temperature's dropping, and so that's going to play a part on tyre wear and obviously the grip that it's got as well.
I agree with you there. Especially with the clouds, track temperature does play quite a role in how fast you can whip a car around, but more than anything, how consistent and how much you have to save your tires throughout the duration of a race. Going into the first part of the chicane, and then the second. Super S2K rolling out of the exit. 8/10 separate the two. Super S2K and the Porsche about to re-enter the slipstream of the GTR ahead. Going through Curve Grande. Super S2K carrying a lot more speed than I think anyone was expecting, because now he's in 6/10 range of the GTR ahead. Going into the second chicane, both of them tremble over the curbs, and they do quite well to navigate. Super S2K now breaching the 5/10 mark, going into the Lesmos. This is where Dirty Air really feels the fullest effects.
This is going to be helping Moose. This is going to be helping Moose. If these two start fighting, Moose is just going to check out.
Absolutely, the MOR team will have such a huge advantage for the second part of this race. Super S2K now 4/10 separate P2 and P3. The once race leader falling a little bit behind. Going into Ascari, the Super S2K and the Porsche able to brake a little bit later due to the softs. Carrying the speed, sliding the car to get down the power. But the GTR gets a little bit of a better exit, but not by much, because now the time is coming back down due to the slipstream. Going into Parabolica. If he keeps the gap below 5/10, he may be able to make some sort of move happen by the time we get into the first part of the chicane. The GTR seems to get a little bit of a better exit, so Super S2K may not be able to make a move, but he will get a lot closer by the time we exit the first part of the chicane. Maybe no move into the first, but maybe a move into the second chicane. Going down, let's see, the Porsches with a little bit of braking capacity, able to close the distance quite a lot and still keep his car pointing forward. Now the gap is less than 2.5 tenths. If any move is going to be made, it's going to be made right now. Through Curve Grande, the shortest line possible, but Super S2K wants that inside line. The GTR on the outside line, will he contest it? Super S2K a little bit behind, and WID with the outside line, able to outbrake the Porsche, able to hold back the Porsche for one more set of corners into the Lesmos. Super S2K unable to do anything, no sort of overtaking opportunity presents itself. Into Lesmo 2, he just wants to set himself up for a move into the Ascari. Super S2K gets a little bit of a worse exit, but the slipstream is able to make up the deficit. Wid keeping onto the outside line. Super S2K giving him a little bit of a bump, looking for a move on the inside, but not enough speed to make it stick. Hammering the revs in second gear. Super S2K loses a little bit of ground to the GTR ahead through Ascari. 4/10 separate the two drivers in these closing laps. Going into Parabolica, the Porsche with a little bit of better braking, but the front tires must be screaming. A little bit of understeer seems to be happening by Super S2K. Is it the dirty air? Is it the tires? I don't know, but these guys still want to combat. They still want to fight. They still want to try to be better than the other driver.
Look at 4th place. He's coming. This could end up being a three-way battle very, very soon.
Going into the first chicane on tour 47 of the race. Super S2K keeps his car pointed nice and tight, snug into the slipstream of the GTR ahead. Once again, I think we're going to be seeing a similar thing through Curve Grande, both taking the shortest line possible, but Super S2K, if he wants that inside line, has to pull out at the last possible moment, which he does. Does Wid do another No, Super S2K breaks way later.
Yeah, he learned his lesson from there. He's like, not this time, Wid.
Overshoots the first part a little bit, but still able to recover and get himself up to P2. Now, does he have enough pace to be able to run away and break off Wid? Or will Wid still want to do anything he can to take back that position? The GTR with a little bit of a better engine, a little bit of better legs, going down into the Ascari chicane. Is he going to look for a move? He doesn't. He wants to settle down behind. Does he think of making a move going through at the exit of Ascari or onto the main straight? Let's see. Super S2K understeers a little bit out of Ascari. He isn't able to carry the speed. Gives him a little bit of bump.
Oh, the bump drafted.
He wants to cover off Inuyasha in P4, breaking into Parabolica. The Parabolica, like I said, the GTR has a little bit of a better engine than Super S2K. What is gonna happen? Super S2K closer to Wid than Inuyasha is to Wid. 6/10 separate the two. Going into the first part of the chicane, what is Wid wants to do? Wants to settle behind him. Wants to keep P3. Doesn't want to let Inuyasha have any opportunity to overtake him. So we only have 3 laps to go. 48, 49, 50, and then pits. Going through Curvia Grande. Inuyasha in the Porsche, as you see in the top right-hand corner, these guys have already done their in-lap. They are now waiting for their drivers to give them the signal to be handing off the race to their teammates. Inuyasha a little bit, on the exit. Glides a little bit on the gravel, but it's pointed straight. Into Lesmo 2. All 3 cars getting over the apex nice and tidy. Super S2K going a little bit wide, allowing Wid to get a little bit more legs underneath him. Does he make a move? No, Super S2K covers it off. Inuyasha is close behind. Does he go for a move?
They overspeed.
He doesn't. Through Ascari, the 3 pack train. Ooh, a little bit wide. Middle of Ascari, but keeps his car pointed straight. That could have been deadly. That could have been.
I cannot tell you how hard that is to keep hold of that car. Wow. Well done.
Especially the dirty air.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice control of the car. Wid braking a little bit later than Super S2K. Almost goes to the back of him, but not enough to unsettle anybody. Wid really close to Super S2K. He's going to make a move. He wants to make a move right here, right now. Less than a tap separates 2 drivers. Super S2K looks a little bit defensive. But Wid doesn't want to make any sort of move happen quite yet. Is he going to be waiting for a move? Oh!
Oh!
He gets again at the second apex. Inuyasha still stuck behind, but this, out of anything, forces Wid out of the slipstream of Super S2K.
Yeah, that leaves him being a sitting duck now too. Now that he hasn't got the slip. This was a long, long way back.
Absolutely. Oh my god. Oh.
Oh my god. How has he managed to, I mean, well done to I mean, to be fair, Weird avoided contact there. He done well to move out of the way. But wow. To have the mind's eye to know that this car's flying up the inside, I better just open the steering wheel a little bit. You know, wow, that was a late break. Okay, you got it stopped though.
You did get stopped. Would have had to flinch.
He did.
Had to be backed up. Had to be backed up a little bit due to being so close to Super S2K. But guys, one more tour of Parabolica for these guys. Then we're on the final lap of Stint 1. Like I said, once these guys finish lap 50, they're going into the pits. Once they stop in their pit box, they give the signals for their teammates to start Stint 2. You guys don't have to go anywhere. The stream is going to end naturally, and you guys are going to be redirected over to the Stint 2 stream, as we had a small red flag there. That was just a mistake. We apologize for that. Inuyasha a bit too far behind, over 7/10, meaning the slipstream is not in effect. Moose up front, traversing through the first part of the chicane, 6.5 seconds clear of AMS Super S2K. MMR, congratulations, because it looks like you're at least going to be in the lead going over into Stint 2, so I'm very curious as to how you will keep it towards the end of the race. Into the second chicane, nice and tidy, no mistakes, no sort of last minute heroics. JK, I want to thank you for being in my commentary booth for today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I enjoy it. Yeah, hopefully I can do it again. But I think I might be racing the next round, so I don't know. Maybe not. But thanks for having me.
Well, of course, you're more than welcome at any time to come on up here and commentate with us. It's been a pleasure. Anyways, going into Ascari, Moose, the MMR team, the MMR Viper, once again taking the lead. Well, I say once again, in Red Bull they did quite a good performance as well. I believe, forget which of the Porsches took the lead out of Stint 1 during that race. But it doesn't matter, because right here, right now, Moose, after 50 tours of Monza, is able to claim that he takes the lead for his team going into Stint 2 of Round 3 of GTSC Split 1. Super S2K falling close behind, 6.7 seconds behind in the Porsche. Look at those fuel, 1% for everybody.
Measured absolutely perfectly. Right, so now the second MMR driver will be now filling up, sorting out their tyres. And then, yeah, we'll be switching over to the other broadcast. Thanks everyone for listening to me, and yeah, Hovercraft, thanks for inviting me here. S7R is doing an incredible job with this championship. I've thoroughly enjoyed racing in it, and I've also enjoyed commentating on it, and I hope to continue. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, JK. Like I said, you're more than welcome anytime. T. Copeland, waiting for his car to enter the pit box. It is now stopped, so his team is going to start his race. As we see on the top right, I believe that is, I want to say Oak.
It's Oak. It's Oak.
Taking on the lead for Stint 2. JP Scale and his car goes into the pits. IRO going into the pits as well. Had to take damage really early on the starting procedure. Unfortunate for him, but still recovered up to P9. S7R Hide and the Porsche entering the pits as well. Arrow getting stopped at his box. As you see in the top right, Oak is just trying to run away as quickly as possible. Hide stopped at his box as well. Cam in the pit lane into his pit box. Posito in the Ferrari doing the same. And P1R Antivis, the last car, another Ferrari, entering the pit lane, and they are getting stopped at their box. Posito at his box, P1R Antivis now at his box, meaning all the drivers in Stint 2 should at least be dropped into their tires and refueling. Everybody, I want to say thank you one more time for watching GTSC Round 3 Split 1 Stint 1. It's been a pleasure to have all of you guys here once again. Congratulations to all the drivers that competed here right now. Thank you to everyone that has been watching, and I wish you all the best of luck in Stint 2. Everybody, please keep on the stream. Once it ends, it's going to redirect you to that top right-hand corner stream, and you will be able to continue following the rest of the race. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure. S7R Hovercraft calling out JK85. Any last words?
Good luck, everyone, and see you later.
Thank you, everybody.